make change happen. We will. I'm a cook. Many of you might know that, but what many people don't know is I'm also the son of two displaced farmers. Farmers displaced from their right to farm by the kind of big conventional system that we have today. Luckily, my grandfather survived until I was 17 years old, so I used to get to go to his farm in southeastern Missouri every summer, and I learned how to raise animals, terminate animals, cook, cure, pickle, can, love food in a very different way, which is why I became a chef. But I'm also the father of two children living with diabetes. And in my quest to try to figure out what I could do to give each of them their best long-term outcome, I learned it was all about food. It was all about food. And the more I looked for the truths of what I needed to do as a chef for my children, I learned some pretty incredible truths, like this truth here. Now, we've all heard about healthcare costs and the drag they put on our economy. I get a little bit bummed because policymakers are saying obesity costs America around $150 billion a year. These are 2007 numbers. Coronary heart disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, stroke, all of these things that diabetes and obesity leads to, now it's over $1 trillion. We as taxpayers pay 60% of that, and the majority of those costs, more than half, are borne by communities of poverty. But there's a whole nother part of the population, kind of middle class, lower middle class, and even some affluent people who simply view food as fuel. It's this inconvenient thing you have to stop in the middle of, like fishing or playing a video game or doing whatever you're doing that's making you busy, and grab a quick bite so you can get back to being busy, right? And those same folks think that food should be cheap. Very cheap. Hence, the all-you-can-eat buffet and the dollar meal. So to those folks, they think food is fuel. To me, I think of it a little bit differently, and we focus at Wholesome Wave on communities of poverty because when you're focused and you high-five yourself at the end of the day because your child showed up home from school alive, when there's something you can improve in their lives, you might go after it with vigor. So does food have to equal fuel? I don't think so. So I'm going to tell you a story that'll help illustrate all of the things I have found food to equal in my time as a chef going on this journey. And I like to call it the tale of two Nelsons. So this is a story about two Nelsons who met each other at our farmers market in Bridgeport. Wholesome Wave's been around for 7 years, and what we do is we do programs that help level the playing field, make healthy food affordable, fruits and vegetables, to communities of poverty so that it's the same as junk, so that they can actually exercise that right to choose the difference. So our first Nelson is a fourth-generation wholesale farmer. He came to the market because of our double value coupon program. This is where we raise private money to double the value of food stamps when they're spent on locally grown fruits and vegetables. Now, most wholesale farmers don't participate in farmers markets because they're usually too big or because customers are a real pain in the ass. You know, the tomatoes, they're not the same size, or there's holes in the greens, right? Or $3 a pound for a tomato, oh my God, you must be crazy. Well, enter our next Nelson, okay? Nelson is in his mid-70s and taking care of the 3 children of his deceased sister. Not uncommon in a place like Bridgeport, which is the Detroit of Connecticut. So Nelson meets kohlrabi, okay? Now kohlrabi is interesting. Farmers love it, but it's bittersweet because it's so sustainable. It's pest resistant naturally, but look at it, it's weird. It looks like a spaceship, right? So in an affluent community, people will go by the kohlrabi and they'll look at it. It's weird to them. They're not going to ask the farmer because they don't want to look like they're not in the know. So they walk on to the chagrin of farmers who think everybody should be eating kohlrabi, but not our Nelson. Our Nelson comes to the market because it's 79 cents a pound, which means it's 40 cents a pound to him, and he picks the kohlrabi up over his head and says, "Excuse me, what the hell do I do with this because I can afford it?" So, to the delight of Nelson Ciccarelli, he regales our Nelson with dozens of recipes on how to cook it, how to serve it raw, you name it. Nelson took 10 pounds of kohlrabi home and put it on his dinner table that night. Because of affordability, Nelson could seek the education so that he could exercise the freedom to feed those kids kohlrabi, which is an excellent nutritious vegetable. Food equals freedom. But not just freedom of choice. Freedom to imagine a better future for you and the children that you're raising. But that's not all. Food also brought these two men together in a different way. Because of Nelson, who we now call Nelson Kohlrabi aficionado, because I don't know his last name, and hundreds of other food stamp consumers in Bridgeport, Nelson Ciccarelli has added $90,000 in revenue per year to his farm. He's now drunk the retail Kool-Aid. But he now wants to open markets in the 7 other poor communities in Bridgeport and is working with our innovations team and our investments team to create a model where community members can earn a right to own the piece of that farm stand like a franchise. So imagine when food actually provides the opportunity for somebody to actually not need food stamps in the first place. Food equals opportunity. Not just for Nelson, and not just for our other Nelson, and not just for the community of Bridgeport, but 50,000 food stamp consumers are supporting 3,200 farmers in 28 states, and proving that food equals freedom, food equals opportunity. But I think, not just because I'm a cook, that it might equal more. Do we have doctors in the house? Is there a doctor in the house? Okay? Man, just a couple, okay? Well, so if you're a doctor, you say this. If you're a patient, you hear it. Stay away from the processed stuff. Eat more fruits and vegetables. So we have a fruit and vegetable prescription program now that allows doctors, nurse practitioners, community health workers, dietitians to work with our program partners and farmers at our markets to provide at-risk families who qualify free fruits and vegetables. And it's remarkable. In our communities, people are participating in the markets. They're going regularly. They're interacting with the farmers. They're going back to their doctor and their dietitian once a month to get more health counseling, to get their prescription refilled, and to be measured for health outcomes. And guess what? Last year, 1,000 children and family members participated, in 2 years in a row. 40% of index patients, all of whom are children, dropped their BMI in a 4-month intervention. Food equals health. Yeah, nice. Clap. Go for it. I think it's cool. So here's the deal. If food equals freedom, food equals opportunity, food equals health, we think, what would America look like if this was happening, fully firing on our communities? It would look like this. This is City Heights, San Diego, a very poor community. Community members of diverse ethnicity, they gather, they share, they celebrate. This is a tamale contest where we have Ethiopian, Cambodian, Vietnamese, African American, white people sharing food culture, talking in the weirdest sign language you've ever seen, because they all don't speak the same language, but they're communicating because food has drawn them together. All of these community members know the important role that food plays in a better life for their kids, but they're also beginning to learn the powerful glue that food is in bringing their community together. We have proven all over the country that food equals community. Now, there might be some folks in the crowd, because we have intellectuals in here, we have change makers, we have people that look at economies of scale, that might think these communities lack the economic power to make a difference. Well, those same 49 million Americans, responsible for over $500 billion of those dollars in healthcare costs, will spend $100 billion this year in the form of food stamps, WIC benefits, free lunches, all of those things at school. $100 billion. If you don't think these communities have the economic power to make a difference, you got to wake up. We just need to change the paradigm so that they can choose that right and have the freedom to spend that money a little bit differently. Because we look at these communities differently at Wholesome Wave, and because we share our outcomes with policymakers across the country and here in Washington, D.C., city budgets now have our doubling program for food stamps. County budgets have the same. There's language in the Farm Bill that every iteration that's passed the Senate and House committees over the last 2 years, incentive language supporting our doubling program is there, even in the horrible, atrocious House bill that just passed. The language is there for the doubling. So we believe doubling federal food assistance for locally grown fruits and vegetables is an inevitability. We believe it. We believe it. Change is coming, but still, to many Americans, food is just fuel. We'll get to them. We'll get to them. If we look at our communities through the lens of food, we see affordable food access in affluent communities happens at upscale restaurants and Whole Foods. In middle-class communities, it happens at Fridays, Friendly's, the Olive Garden, Piggly Wiggly, and Publix. In underserved communities, food access is happening at fast food restaurants, corner stores, gas stations, and even liquor stores. Bottom line, we must stop thinking of food as fuel. I mean, after all, we've proven all of these things. Food equals all these things. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Somebody nod their head. Tell me that you feel it, right? Okay. So if food equals all these things, then we have to endeavor to believe that food is change. Food is change. Food is change. And if we believe that in our hearts, if we believe it, each and every one of you in this room, me, Jose, all of us together, can endeavor to go out into the world and change the world through food. Thank you for your time. God bless you. Thank you.